So let's talk about Somaliland a little bit here. Like I've been hearing some things about Somaliland wanting to exchange hosting the Palestinians, not just hosting, but absorbing them into their population, ethnically cleansing them from the Gaza Strip, and sending them over from Palestine and into Somaliland. And the Somaliland foreign minister, the foreign minister, I'll show you guys the posts on my phone, but the foreign minister is saying that he would be open to absorbing their population in exchange for recognition. Think about that for a second. Just absorb that for a second. I'll explain to the viewers what Somaliland is. Somaliland is a breakaway region of Somalia, which declared its independence in 1991 following the ouster of Siad Barre. They created the Somali national movement around in the early 1980s with their base in Ethiopia under the leadership of the Ethiopian Empire. Haile Mengistu Mariam, or I think he was the Derg at the time, they would host people that are separatists from each region in their country, because we were still fighting the Ethiopians at that time. So the Ethiopians would always seek to destabilize us, and we would do the same to them. Until there was a treaty at some point with Siad Barre and the Ethiopians that we would not meddle in each other's affairs. But that's later on down the road, and we're talking about something else. Somali National Movement became Somaliland. The Somali National Movement was seeking independence for the north of Somalia. Now, we'll give you a bit more of a backstory. Somalia was once colonized by the Italians and the British. The Italians held mainland Somalia, which is South Somalia, Puntland, Jubaland, Hirshabelle, middle central Somalia, and then Jubaland. After the Second World War, the Italians held the south and the British held the north. Then when we became independent, the British Somaliland, which is the north of Somalia, they decided to join into a union with the rest of Somalia. It was ratified and the treaty was signed, and when we joined together as a union in the 1960s. Then following that, there was a big event that I can't really ignore, the Ogaden War. And we lost that war, long story short. We lost that war against Ethiopia. What happened after that was basically, after we lost the war, there was a lot of discontentment with the Siad Barre regime at that time because of the lost war and the high number of casualties for certain clans that were not really favorable to Siad Barre's regime, like the Isaq clan. And then there was a so-called genocide in the north, which happened because the Somali National Movement was rebelling against the government at the time. And we tried to put them back into the fold of Somalia, and we just wanted to bring them back. Siad Barre, he actually employed a lot of Ogaden people from the Ogaden region, his own clan, to basically survey the north of Somalia. I'm kind of mumbling, but because I'm a bit hungry. But like, he would employ the Ogaden people that were part of Ethiopia. So basically Ethiopians, essentially, de facto Ethiopians, to basically raise villages, kill dissenters, kill the traitors and the rebels, burn villages, carpet bomb Hargeisa. So this is all of the uqdad, which is that's a Somali word for revenge or hatred, or so those kind of feelings that brewed up within the Somaliland, because that's the only thing we have different, is that we were colonized by different masters. They were colonized by the British, and we were colonized by the Italians. It wasn't for a very long period, so I don't know if you can really call it colonialism, but that's what happened. And then now we have what we have now. In the north, those Somalilanders, they've had de facto independence since 1991, since the fall of Siad Barre. So how long is that? 9 plus 25, 25 plus 5, 30, 34 years. So 34 years of independence, give or take, for those landers. They still don't have international recognition. I'm just setting the stage for the backstory of why they want recognition, who wants recognition, and how did it begin, right? So we have what we have now, and they're still not recognized. So they're desperate to get recognized. That's obvious. Because why? Because they're going to the Ethiopians, our historical enemy, to get recognition. That didn't work because of the MOU. They tried to do a memorandum of understanding with Ethiopia. In exchange for a naval base, they would recognize Somaliland. That failed. Now they're going to Plan B. The Israelis want the Gazans, the Palestinians out of Gaza. So they're willing to host them. That's 2 million people. What's the population of Somaliland? It's like 4 or 5 million, right? So they would instantly become the second biggest population within your own borders. How would you even? That's a big security threat, security concern also. How are you going to control 2 million people? How are you going to control 2 million people? Different culture, not different religion, but different culture, different language, different custom, different everything except for the religion. And would we accept that? I'm from the south of Somalia. I'm not a lander. But would the Somalis accept that? Would they let the landers in the north? It kind of disrespects us. They're traitors to our country. They're cancerous also, because they're not a sovereign country. You cannot decide on those kind of things. You have to consult us. That's the right thing to do. It doesn't mean we're your masters. We're on the same level. We're brothers and sisters. We can make agreements between ourselves. Why do we have to involve external people? Why can't we just make an agreement and then live prosperously together? I'm saying that from a very naive perspective. I understand why it's not possible. Why isn't it possible? One man, one vote. It's not gonna happen. What does that even mean? It means like you want to have one president for the entire country. Everyone votes for whoever they want. Different candidates, but there's one man, one vote. Which means that there's one person that's going to lead the country under one flag, under one, and unify it, basically. That's what it means. They don't want that. They won't even cooperate against the fight with the terrorists in the south. They won't cooperate on us with anything. And we still send them aid money. We still listen to their concerns. We still bring their problems to the UN. They don't have a seat at the UN. They're not recognized as a sovereign state. They don't have their own. They're not recognized by anybody. Obviously, the African Union will not recognize them because there's so many different states that want recognition that are breakaway states. I read online that Somaliland is actually the biggest country that's unrecognized de facto, with the biggest amount of territory that's under their control. But I think that's incorrect because Las Anod and the surrounding regions have already, Khartoum State, it's already declared its independence away from Somaliland. And they're going to join the union, pro-union. They're pro-union. They want to join the rest of Somalia. Those landers, man, I'm starting to feel a lot of hatred towards them because they're aligning with our historical enemies. They're disrespecting our sovereignty. Is it time for us to invade the country? To invade the north of Somalia? Well, you wouldn't actually consider it an invasion because you're operating within your own borders. So what would it be called? An intervention? Should we intervene in the north of Somalia? There's no question of an invasion because it's our territory. How can you invade your own territory? The international community wouldn't even blink an eye at us trying to just set matters right in Somaliland and just bring them back to the fold. I don't want to hurt them. I don't want to humiliate them. They're still Somali, so I respect them. All of that. But if they don't want to respect our sovereignty and they don't want to stay with the union, we're going to have to try to use force at some point. You're going to disrespect our sovereignty, our territorial integrity, and you want to leave and then do your own thing? Sorry, but it's not going to happen. Sorry, bro. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen, Ero. It's not going to happen. You're not going to take any of those Palestinians to Somaliland. You're not going to do any of that shit. I shouldn't even really be calling it Somaliland. I should be calling it North Somalia. Like, I'm kind of becoming part of the problem. But I feel like they're kind of traitors at some point, and we probably have to do something about them. Once we deal with the terrorists in the south, we're gonna deal with Somaliland, and perhaps we'll make a deal with them in the south, and we'll turn against Somaliland and invade, and bring them back with force.